All right. All right. There we go. All right. We got it. We got it. Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to share with you Billion Dollar Church. Now, I know many of you have been with us and you've gotten used to Billion Dollar Mind, and we're bringing Billion Dollar Mind under the auspices of Billion Dollar Church. And we'll likely have John come on and kind of share some of the reasonings behind that. But I want you to know that Billion Dollar Church, we teach spiritual laws that govern a life of abundance, radiant health, and incredible loving relationships. Now, why a church? Okay. A church is an organization that teaches principles from the Bible. Generally, we call those churches. Okay. Although many religions and even some cults, obviously, we're not one of those, may call themselves a church. A church, simply by definition, is a group of people who meet together regularly and they have some measure of commitment to each other. Now, I want you to understand that we are a non religious church. Now, what does that mean? We're not going to get into the dotting the I's and crossing the T's and, do you get baptized and do you get baptized by being dunked down in the water or by immersion? We're not getting into those things. All right. What we're focusing on are eternal truths. We're focusing on spiritual, universal laws. All right. So we're not asking anyone to, if you're a part of a fellowship, whether you are in a Christian church or a synagogue or a mosque, or if you're not even church, we're not asking anyone to leave what they're currently doing. We're not asking anyone to not continue to financially support what you may already be doing as it relates to if you're part of any type of faith-based fellowship. Okay. Now, what do we teach? We're teaching principles that are found in scripture and also backed up by science, personal experiences, and huge testimonials. So we teach these laws, including these laws, but not limited. So there'll be other laws that will also come into play. The laws of faith. You'll hear John talk about that a lot. All right. The four pillars of faith, as we love to call it: attitude, great attitude; vision, right? The vision, make it plain. Um, those who lack vision, perish. Those who lack vision are not successful. So that's number two. Number three, as it relates to the four pillars of faith, is taking time each day to surround ourselves with the feeling of what it would feel like when we accomplish the vision, when we hit our targets, when we hit our goals. And then number four, affirmations, calling those things that are not as though they were. The law of the harvest, we're going to be talking about the law of the harvest tonight with our donation plan. The laws of unity. On Sunday nights, we dedicate Sunday nights to our spiritual laws teaching. The past few weeks, we've been teaching about the law of unity. We'll continue likely this coming Sunday. And we've been showing a number of examples of when people got together, even if it was just two or three, or if it was a larger group, when people started to move with one heart and one mind, something divine happens. Can I explain it? No, I just know it happens. And so this coming Sunday, we're going to invite you to be a part of that sharing. So we're teaching spiritual laws, principles that we can apply to our lives so that we have more fruitful relationships, so that our health is more radiant, so that we can prosper and be in health, even as our soul prospers. The law of love. You'll hear us talk a lot about the law of love. So these are the types of principles that we're going to be sharing. Okay. Now, with that being said, we know if we were to go back to the scriptures and we were to look at the master teacher, if we were to look at Jesus, okay, I know some of you may call Jesus by other names, his Hebrew name or what have you, but you get my point there. Okay. What he did before he would tell folks, hey, go and sin no more, he would minister to their needs. So if somebody needed healing, he didn't say, hey, go to the synagogue and dot all the I's and cross the T's. He didn't do that. What he did was he met their need. So if they needed healing, he would heal them. Then they were more open to the rest of his spiritual message. Well, what do we know all across the globe? Most people have major financial needs. Now, here's a young lady that was able to leverage a platform called GoFundMe. So she was about to be evicted. Someone put together a GoFundMe campaign to help her keep from being evicted. Now, this is the type of thing that I wish the media would cover. The media likes to cover the salacious stuff, the negative stuff, the me against you, you against me stuff. All right, but it doesn't often cover the loving, kind hearts of people. We see that when there is tragedy or there's calamity. Very often you see people that maybe wouldn't normally talk to each other, wouldn't normally even connect with each other. They might be in the same neighborhood. Now all of a sudden they're helping each other out. In this case, this young lady, they were looking to raise $20,000. 81,000 got raised. 4,200 donations. People saw her post, they were moved, and some folks gave donations of just a few bucks. Some folks gave larger donations. Then this young lady here. Now I'm going to tell you why GoFundMe won't work for most people, and why Billion Dollar Church, Billion Dollar Mind is a platform you may strongly want to consider if you're looking to raise funds for whatever your pet projects may be. This young lady, unfortunately, got a horrible diagnosis. And unless there is a miracle, she may not be on this side much longer. So she was looking to raise $5,000 to help out with her children and planning for her funeral, heaven forbid, if she doesn't get healing on this side. She raised 1.1 million. That shows you the heart. Most people at their core are good, loving, kind people. We want to accentuate that in Billion Dollar Church, Billion Dollar Mind. $1.14 million, 37,500 donations. Now, why won't GoFundMe work for most people? Most people aren't going to go to GoFundMe and raise $1.14 million. Now, I don't know her full story. Usually when someone raises this type of, receives these types of donations, they have a large following, or they're connected to someone that has a large following. So maybe someone has a large Instagram following or YouTube following, or they're social influencer or what have you. All right. And so since we believe that most people are not, the big social influencers, you're going to see the model that Billion Dollar Church, Billion Dollar Mind uses, that allows you, me, we to potentially raise our own millions of dollars in funds. Collectively, our plan, collectively, our target, collectively, our vision. Make sure you're on Sunday night so you can hear about unity, so that you can tie into the vision. Our vision is to put billions of dollars in the hands of everyday people. Here's another one. So this person is looking to raise funds for surgery for their dog, and they raise $7,700 on 107 donations. Okay, so let's talk about the Billion Dollar Church donation plan. Now, we all know that most churches or places of worship or faith-based organizations are fueled financially by donations. Well, this is where we're going to do something totally different. Now, I'm not going to name names, but the other day I spent a lot of time on YouTube listening to my personal transformation mentors. And the other day I got served a video and it showed some spiritual leaders. I'm not going to mention any names, but if I were to mention some names, some of you would say, "Oh, I know that name," or "I've seen this person as a tele-evangelist," or what have you. One of the folks, and I've seen a lot of their content, all right, and they're always asking, I won't say always, they're usually requesting donations. And then to find out they're worth $550 million and they've got a fleet of jets. And then I saw another person who is a spiritual leader in a very, very, what we would call a poor country. Okay. And I'm looking at the congregants and just knowing a little bit about that country. But the spiritual leader is worth $400 million. 400 million. And still in another country, a more impoverished country, the spiritual leader was worth $1.5 billion. So you know what we decided to do here? We're going to teach these uh, 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 principles. But when donations come, and there'll always be free will donations, nobody is ever forced to donate. So you can come and you can get all of the teaching that we're going to share. And if you choose not to donate, that's totally up to you. But if you choose to donate and you become a part of our donation plan, then what can happen is you start to apply the laws of faith and the law of the harvest and the laws of unity. Okay. So instead of John becoming a fat cat or yours truly becoming a fat cat, leaders, doing the teaching and everybody else is struggling, but here we are worth hundreds of millions of dollars. Here's what's going to happen. If someone chooses to donate to Billion Dollar Church, 20% of the donations will stay with the church. And that's so that we can continue to build an infrastructure and things of that nature, and even charities. But 80% will get paid out immediately to the members. So I want you to imagine and put this in your chat box, all right, in your Q&A. You got a Q&A box, okay? I'm interested to see this, all right? How many of you, either in times past or you currently, are a part of some type of organization? It could be faith-based, it could be a nonprofit, it could be something with the school, where you continually, regularly donate as a way to help support that cause, whether it's a church, synagogue, mosque. Put it in your Q&A. Just put, yeah, that's me. I normally donate to something. And again, we're not asking you to withhold support from what you currently support. Okay. All right. Now, here's my other question. How many of you have maybe shared with other people? So maybe you go to, ABC Church and you've invited someone to go to church with you. Or you invited someone to go to a Zoom with you, or you're donating to a specific cause and maybe you shared that information with someone else. Okay. Now, so also put that in your Q&A. I won't see it now, but I'd be interested to see it when I get a chance to look at it. Okay. If you've done either of those, you've donated, or you regularly donate, and you have maybe invited someone else, maybe to your church or to the Zoom or to the what have you, and perhaps they donated. Well, here's what's going to happen here. 80% of the donations get paid out to the members. 80%. So what we've done, John, who you heard just a few moments ago, and you'll likely hear him chime in from time to time tonight. John, not only is he a faith-based believer, okay? John has been in the business world for a long time. And as a matter of fact, he helped to start and lead a home business project that was valued at its height just under $1 billion. And so John, who is a man of faith, a man of great principle, said, you know what? What if we had a church that taught spiritual laws, spiritual principles? We weren't getting into the weeds of some of the doctrinal differences and what have you. No, we're teaching spiritual laws. Okay. And if people chose to donate, 80% goes back out to the member base. This is how we plan to have billions of dollars going into the hands of everyday people. All right, so there's two structures that we have. We're going to talk about our 2-up structure, and then we're going to talk about our 2x2. The 2x2 has not launched yet. It should be launching in the coming weeks, but I want to go on and prepare you for that now. Okay. All right. So how does this work? So someone, let's say, they will register to become a part of Billion Dollar Church. You may also hear us say Billion Dollar Mind. So Billion Dollar Mind was launched a couple of months ago, and now we're bringing everything under the auspices of Billion Dollar Church. Now, when someone wants to donate, they can donate to specific plans. So there's two structures that we'll ultimately have. The 2-up, that's going on now. People are receiving proceeds from that now. They're receiving payouts from that right now. Okay. And then the 2x2 is to come in the coming weeks. Okay. Now, what will happen? Let's say, for the purposes of tonight, that the 2x2 is up and running. We know it's not up and running just yet, but it's coming. Okay. So what would happen is we would be saying, if you choose to donate, never under any obligation, you want to split your donation in half. So let's say, for instance, you were going to donate $20. You would do $10 donation for the 2-up, $10 donation for the 2x2. If you said, okay, I've got about $500 I want to donate, all right, then you would take 10 and 50 and 100. That winds up being 160. Let's say going to the 2-up, and then 160 going to the 2x2. And that would still leave you some leftover. Okay. All right. So what I want you to be thinking is, if this makes sense to you and you start hearing about what we teach, that makes sense to you, and you say, yeah, I want to donate. I want to help someone else in their fundraising efforts, and I want to leverage the law of the harvest, which says, I reap what I sow. I sow to reap, but when I reap more than what I sow. Okay. So that's how you would do that. You would simply, how much do you want to donate? What is your, I will refer to it as a donation budget. You cut that budget in half. All right. It might be a few bucks. It might be a few $100. It might be a few thousands of bucks. Okay. Now
Can I make a comment?
Yes.
By splitting this up, we're actually going to reach more people. What I mean is, the same people that get paid in the 2-up are probably going to be different than the people that are paid in the 2x2. So we're actually going to be spreading those donations out even more. However, it's still an 80% payout either way.
So that's going to help more people, impact more people. And again, what did Jesus do before he often came with his more deeply spiritual message? He ministered to people's needs. He ministered to people's needs. And then they became a little more receptive to what he had to share going forward. All right, so here we go. So each one of these uh, donation plans stand on their own. The ultimate goal is to have folks ultimately go through each of the donation plans in both the 2-up and the 2x2. And then for anyone that, should you ever invite anyone to come to our seminars or watch our recorded content or what have you, and they choose to want to use our system to raise funds on their own, and they donate to you, all right, the game plan is for them to go all the way through the donation steps in both the 2-up and the 2x2. So let's talk about the 2-up, okay? All right, so here's Frank. Now, Frank, he wants to raise funds because his parents are getting a little older. He's concerned about their health. Um, they don't really have as much retirement as Frank would like to see them to have, and particularly with things like inflation and his Social Security. He's in the U.S. Is Social Security going to be able to pay out as much? They're saying it's going to go bankrupt in a few years, and so on and so forth. So Frank wants to raise some capital for a number of things, but he's really concerned about his parents. Okay, so Frank, he comes to some of our seminars. He listens to some of our recorded material. He says, "Hey, I know some other folks that could use this teaching on these spiritual laws." He's starting to apply some of the laws. He's starting to see some successes out of that. So he refers his little sister, Sue. Now, Sue, she and her husband, Paul, they want to start a family. They don't have any children yet, but they're concerned about their economics. They're concerned about inflation. They're concerned about housing. They're in a little uh, um, one bedroom apartment right now, and they're thinking, we need to expand. If we're going to have a child or have children, and we want to be in another side of town where maybe the school system is a little bit better. So that's why she comes aboard. It doesn't matter what her fundraising, what your fundraising is. We want to put billions of dollars in the hands of everyday people. I'd rather do that than for someone to have a fleet of 5 or 6 jets. I'll leave it at that. Okay. So here we go. So Sue refers a few folks. She invites a few folks to hear about Billion Dollar Church, Billion Dollar Mind. They come aboard. They choose to donate. Okay. Whether it's at the $10 plan, the $50 plan, the $100 plan, the 2-up works the same for each of the 12 plans. There's 12 plans. All right. Now you're going to notice some gold arrows and some silver arrows. So here's how this works. When Sue invites some folks and they come aboard, the first person that donates to any of those plans in the 2-up, Sue is going to get the proceeds. 80% of that is going to go to Sue. So the gold arrows means that the 80% payout, by the way, 80% is paid out to one person. Okay. So it's not diluted. So let's say that number one did not just a $10 donation or not just a $50 donation. Number one maybe did a $1,000 donation. Okay. 80%. And that was the first person that did a $1,000 donation. 80% of that, $800 is going to go to Sue. Now, let's say somebody else does a $1,000 donation and they're the second person to do that. Now, Sue invited them. Well, that $800 payout is going to go to Frank. So why is that? Because we are following the law of the harvest. What does the law of the harvest say? It says we reap what we sow. We sow to reap, but when we reap so much more than what we sow. So this number 2 person here, whether this was the second person that did the $10 donation, the second person that did the $50 donation, the second person that did the $20,000 donation, that second donation is a seed. It's a seed that's being sown into Frank. That's going to help Frank with what he's fundraising for. Remember the law of unity. Be here on our Sunday night Zoom. And by the way, you'll be able to watch the previous recordings where we've talked about the law of unity. When we come together as one, the heavens move. The heavens move. Okay. Third person that donates to a specific plan, whether it's the 10 or the 50 or the 1,000 or the $10,000 plan, that third person who donates, the proceeds from that is going to go to Sue. The fourth is going to go to Frank. So we call this a 2-up because the second and fourth donation to that specific plan, whether it's the 10,000 or the 20,000 or any of the ones in between, those flow up. They flow upstream. Those are seeds. You, however, would keep the first, the third, the fifth, and beyond. So if there's a sixth person that you invited that donated to a plan, doesn't matter what the plan is. If there is a 17th person that you invited that donated to a plan, doesn't matter what the plan is, you would keep all of those proceeds, 80% of that. Okay. Now, doesn't stop there. We're still talking about the two up. All right. So I want you just to imagine the day coming where a person does a $20,000 donation. And the person who was the first to do the $20,000 donation, because it's the first person that did that at Sue's invitation, Sue's going to get 80% or 16 grand. The second person that does that, 16 grand is going up to Frank. The third person that does that, 16 grand. So 20,000 was the donation, 16K is going to go to Sue. The fourth person that does that. And this happens with all of the plans, but it doesn't stop there. Okay. Give me a moment. Now we get into some powerful stuff. Now we really start to see the law of the harvest start to take place. Now we've got quite a few little lines here. We'll explain all of this. So we know that all the gold arrows represent proceeds or payouts that's going to Sue, 80% of whatever the donation amount was. We know that the silver represents payouts that's going to what's his name? John.
That's
Was it?
Frank.
That's Frank. Thank you. I was about to say Roger for some reason. I'm thinking, I didn't say Roger. That's Frank. Thank you. Okay. All right. And we're going to introduce some more folks here. All right. So what did Sue do? She referred 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 folks, or invited 6 people that took her up on the invitation, came into $1 Billion Church, $1 Billion Mind, decided they wanted to donate. Okay. Now, we know that the first and the third, and then the fifth and sixth and beyond of any of those folks that donated, those proceeds go to Sue. We know that. Okay. Now, let's say that Sue referred whoever number one is. I'm going to give number one a name. I'm going to say number one is Roger. Okay. Now, Roger invites 4 folks to come through BDC, $1 Billion Church, $1 Billion Mind, BDM himself. And so the first person that donates to one of those donation plans, Roger's going to get those proceeds. So that's the green arrow here. So just like you would retain, Sue retains, Frank retains the first, the third, the fifth, and beyond donation of any of those plans, same thing is going to happen here for Roger. The first person that donates to a plan, Roger gets that. The third person that donates to a plan, Roger gets that. The fifth, the sixth, the 17th, Roger gets that. But remember how the second and fourth for Sue went upstream? It was a seed in keeping with the law of the harvest. Same thing happens here. Roger, his second and fourth, when they donate to a plan, those proceeds go to, look at the gold, goes to Sue. His fourth person here goes to Sue, but it doesn't stop there, because this person, number 2, their second and fourth, and their second and fourth, and their second and fourth, and their second and fourth. In some parts of business, they would say unlimited depth. So we'll use that concept, unlimited depth. This doesn't stop. As long as there's a second and a fourth, and a second and a fourth, and a second and a fourth, all of that is going to go to Sue. Same thing over here. Her third person, let's call that Monica. Okay. Monica's second and fourth to any of the plans. So the second person that does the $10 donation, the second person that does the $500 donation, the second person that does the $20,000 donation, those donations are going to go to Sue. Just like Sue planted a seed, her second and fourth went up to Frank, Monica's second and fourth go to Sue. And then their second and fourth, and 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 their second and fourth, unlimited. And the same thing happens over here. We just didn't have enough room to show this. Anyone that is connected to Monica for that plan, her fifth, her sixth, her 17th, her 182nd, all of their second and fourth, second and fourth, second and fourth, second and fourth, they all go to Sue. Whether that's a $10 donation, $8 going to Sue, $1,000 donation, $800 going to Sue, a $10,000 donation. You know, when we first launched Billion Dollar Mind, again, that was before bringing it under the auspices of Billion Dollar Church, but it was the same fundraising structure. We had a gentleman who came off the street. He did a $10,000 donation. So that means I think he was that person's first to do a $10,000 donation. That was $8,000. He also he had about a $14,000 budget. So he did a $10,000 donation, a $2,500 donation, $1,000 donation, a $500 donation, and 80% of that immediately were proceeds of, whoever invited him. Okay. Powerful. All right. Now, if that's all we had, that would be amazing. That's not all we are going to have. We're about to have in the next few weeks 2x2. It's going to run alongside of the 2-up. And as John just mentioned, this is going to actually allow more people to benefit. There's still going to be an 80% payout, but let me show you how that works. Okay. So it's going to be the same plans. So anyone who hears this messaging and they want to start coming to our seminars, listening to our recorded content, and they choose to want to be a part and utilize our fundraising vehicle, all right, our donation plan is a fundraising vehicle, then what we're going to be saying is determine what your budget is, what your donation budget is, your out-of-pocket donation budget, okay? Split it in half of it to the 2-up, half of it to the 2x2. By the way, in order to donate to the 2x2, you have to first have donated to that plan's 2-up. All right. So you can't just donate $10 to the 2-up and then come and donate 20,000 to the 2x2. No, that's why you would split it in half. If I got a $20 budget, I'm doing 10 and 10. If I have a $500 budget, I'm doing, my 10, my 50, my 100 on the 2-up, my 10, my 50, my 100 on the 2x2, and I've got some left over. Okay. All right. So let me show you how this works. I'm going to start off with the $10 so you can see the power of this, and then we're going to go up the ladder a little bit. All right. So now we've got Frank. Frank referred Sue or invited Sue. She became a donor. All right. She decides to donate. And let's also say that Frank, in this example, invited Sean. Now, in some parts of the internet, there's something called a matrix. And so we've decided to incorporate that with our fundraising. A 2x2 means that you have 2 floors in the matrix. You've got floor number 1, where there's only 2 positions available. In this case, Frank's already filled those 2 positions with Sue and with Sean. And then those 2, Sue, she's got her own 2 rows. Her first row is going to be Frank's second row. We call this your payout line. So how do these 4 people down here get here? Could happen all from Frank's invitations. That could happen. Let's say if Frank invited 6 folks and there is Sue and there's Sean, they don't have any more room at the end, so the other 4 had to spill underneath Sue and Sean. Or maybe Sue invited some folks that occupy these first couple spots. Maybe Sean invited some folks that fell under here. And it could be that somebody from on high, somebody in Frank's leadership, maybe invited some folks that happened to spill into Frank's matrix. That could happen. Okay. Now, here's what happens though. On that pay line, whoever this person is right here, and they do the $10 2x2 donation, guess who gets that? Say it with me. Frank does. That's his payout line. Sue will have her own payout line. She'll have her own 2x2. Sean will have his own payout line. Okay. Then let's say that Sean invites someone, and this is the second person, all right, that filled the matrix. That's going to also go to Frank, $8. Now, what the system's going to do is the first 2 spots on your second row, there's only 4 spots there. The first 2 spots on your second row, that payout is going to go to your withdrawable wallet, saying WW. Okay. Your withdrawable wallet, meaning if Frank wants to immediately withdraw that, he can. Okay. Or if he wants to keep it there because he wants to donate up so that he can donate up in the 2 up and then donate up some more in the 2x2, because the whole goal ultimately is for everyone to get through all of the donation steps in the 2 up and in the 2x2. And you'll see why that's so important in a few moments. The third spot that donates, that's going to pay out, but it's going to pay out just slightly differently. This $8 here is going to go into a holding tank. Let's call it Frank's Bank. Why is that? Because we want Frank to be able to donate up, donate more. That's going to impact more people. That's going to help more people with their fundraising goals back to the law of the harvest. Okay. And then the fourth spot, that's going to open up a new matrix for Frank. Now, the difference on the fourth spot is that 100% of the fourth spot goes to open up a new matrix. So Frank does not have to come out of pocket anymore for this 2x2 matrix. Now, what this creates is the potential, maybe perhaps all of my disclaimers, of residual. In some places on the internet, they call it recurring. Residual or recurring, meaning it could happen over and over and over again. So let's say that Frank now, this is Frank, all right, he starts a new 2x2. It starts all over. So if Frank invited someone else beyond what you see here, they might take on the first spot in his new matrix. And let's say now all of a sudden, Sue, she has filled her 2x2. So Frank's got his 2x2. Sue's got her 2x2. Sean's got his 2x2. Bernice, you'd have your 2x2. Carmen, you'd have your 2x2. Cameron, you'd have your 2x2. Everybody has their own 2x2. All right. So if all of a sudden Sue filled her matrix, she would follow Frank because Frank was the one that invited her, and she would take the next available spot in Frank's new matrix. So where she is in matrix number 1 could be different than where she is in matrix number 2, and Frank can have a 3rd and a 4th and a 17th and 196 matrix, just like you could too, Doris. Just like you could too, Gary Huff. You could have a $10 2x2 matrix or matrices. You could have 50 of them, 75 of those. Okay. And so once this fills up, guess what? Same thing happens. And it's going to start another matrix for Frank. And this just keeps going on and on and on and on and on and on. And that's just with the $10. Same thing works with all of the other ones. I'm just going to show you some of the numbers real quickly, and I'm just about finished. Let me look at my time. Oh, okay. Let's get to the point where you're at the 1,000 2x2. Now, what does that mean? That you've donated the 10 and the 50 and the 100 and what have you in both the 2-up and now into the 2x2. That's why we have that banking feature there, where a portion of what happens on this second row of yours, your payout line, is going to go into your bank. All right, so that you can start to build that up, and then the system will automatically, once you've built up enough, qualify you by donating into the 2-up for the next donation spot, and then ultimately into the 2x2. Okay, so look at how powerful this is. Same thing. All right, whoever takes this spot here, 800 is going to Frank. Second spot, 800 goes to Frank. And remember, this now is immediately withdrawable. That's 1,600 that he can immediately withdraw. What was his donation there? His donation was 1,000. With these two, he's able to withdraw 1,600. When we reap more than what we sow. 800 is going to go to his bank, so that ultimately he can donate up. And then this fourth spot is going to start a new $1,000 matrix. Now, by this time, Frank has a $10 matrix. It's likely cycling over and over, or could be. Let me not say likely. Potentially, maybe, perhaps, all my disclaimers. He's got a $50 matrix. By the time he gets to the 1,000, he's got $50 matrices that could be cycling over and over, meaning 40, 40, 40. All right. 80% of the $50. He's got a $100 matrix that could be cycling over and over and over. 80, 80, 80 from the $100. $80 is being paid out to Frank. He's got a 250 that's paying out 200. He's got a 500 that's paying out 400. And all of those could be multiple matrices. See, when John had a business in the home business space, one of his properties that he owned had a 2x2. And there were folks that were cycling from a 2x2 and generating over $5,000 a day. That's how he was able to build a business that got to valued at just under $1 billion. Okay. So are you seeing how that's working? Let's donate up. Imagine this. Tabitha Brown. Imagine this, sis. I call Tabitha Tab, my sis. She's my children's godmom. Tab, imagine this. 8,000. Boom. Another 8,000. Boom. 16,000 in your withdrawable wallet. You can withdraw it all. You can leave some of it there if you wanted to, so it can get you all the way through the donation plan. The third one, all right, on your of your 2x2, the third spot that gets filled, that would be 8,000 that would go into your bank, because you still have another couple. You got another two more donations, a $15,000 donation and a $20,000 donation. Okay, so this isn't just coming out of your pocket; it's coming from your proceeds. Okay, and then we start another matrix. So now imagine having $10 matrices cycling, $50 matrices cycling, all the way up 500, 25, 1,000, 2,500, 5,000, now 10,000. And let's finish with this one. Just about finish. 20,000. Now, mind you, you're still getting proceeds on the 2-up. In order for this person to get into your 2x2 20,000, and let's say you personally invited them, they had to also donate in the 2-up. So remember, If she was the first or the third or the fifth and beyond in your two up doing a $20,000 donation, you got 16 grand there. And now they come into your matrix. Now, if she's on your first row in your matrix, you don't get those proceeds, those go up. But hey, she might be the one that brought this person here to the table. And when they donate the 20,000 in the matrix, that 16 grand comes to you. This 16 grand comes to you. Now, when you've gone all the way through the plan, you're all the way through on the two up and all the way through on the 2x2. This third spot, there's no need for that to go into holding. So guess what? That's going to go to you also. In this example, 1, 2, 3, that's 48,000 from that 2x2 matrix. And when that fourth spot is ultimately taken, it starts another $20,000 matrix. So what could be happening? You could be cycling again and again at the $10 and time the 50 and the 100 and the 250 and the 5 and the 1,000. Look at these amounts here. Let's pay attention to these amounts. And the 2,500 and the 5,000, 4,000. All right. So imagine with each one of those matrices, when they fill and you cycle before you get to the 20,000, the first two spots on row 2, there's 4 spots there. The first 2 spots is going to your withdrawable wallet. You can withdraw that out. The third spot goes to your bank, goes to your holding, so that you can go from the plan 8 ultimately to the plan 9. And then ultimately go from the plan 9 to the plan 10. And then ultimately from the plan 10 to the plan 11. And then ultimately from the plan 11 to the plan 12. Now, are you starting to see, while I don't know that the average person can be like the young lady that raised $1.1 million in GoFundMe, can you see the potential maybe perhaps of utilizing our fundraising platform, our donation platform, to raise a few hundred, a few thousand, a few tens of thousands? Listen, if there is a spiritual leader, won't say his name. Again, if I said his name, many of you would know. And he's been investigated because they're like, hey, well, is this fair? You keep asking your parishioners for all this money and you got 5 or 6. What you need 5 jets? Why you need 5 jets? We'd rather you, me, we get those donations and empower others to fundraise and get those donations for projects that are near and dear to you. Just about finished. Now,
let me just interject for a moment.
You need me to go back?
So, no. Well, yeah,
Okay.
go back to the 2x2.
Got it.
So in the 2 up, the most you could receive from one individual is 1 donation from each plan. That's the most. With the 2x2, you can receive from that one person over and over again. So let's take Sue. Okay. Frank does not receive a donation here from Sue, right? On this particular 2x2. But there's going to be times when Sue lands on the second level. Not always. She's going to land either on the first level or second level. Every time she lands on the second level, that's a donation to Frank. But if she doesn't land on the second level, guess what's going to happen? She's going to give 2 donations to Frank by the 2 people that come on her first level of the matrix. So she's either going to give 1 or 2 donations every time through the cycle.
John, is this how you had some folks generating over $5,000 a day?
Yes, and the matrix that we had then is not as good as the one we have now.
Just about finished, folks. Now, if all of this was in US dollars, if all the payouts were in US dollars, this would be a phenomenal plan. However, one of the things, John, um, you might want to cover your ears on this one. John was introduced to Bitcoin. Many of you are familiar with cryptocurrency, and if you're not, we'll get you there. Okay. John was introduced to Bitcoin when Bitcoin was going for 5 cents. Bitcoin hit a high of 72,000 and some change earlier this year. John had a buddy of his imploring John, buy $1,000 worth of Bitcoin, just sit on it. If John had done that, he would have had 20,000 Bitcoin. And if he had held on to that until it got to its high of 72,000, that'd be worth 1.4 billion. It'd be one thing if our structure paid in dollars. That'd be phenomenal. Okay. What's the problem though with dollars? We know that's a wasting asset. We know what is inflation? Inflation is that the purchasing power of one's dollar continues to erode, goes down. A dollar today doesn't buy you what a dollar bought, months ago, years ago, so on and so forth. So, armed with the understanding now of just how powerful the cryptocurrency world is, payouts, give me a moment. We're going to be using an asset, cryptocurrency asset called Flare. Now, John may share some additional information as we're just getting this up and running. And Flare is a newer blockchain. And so John may share some other ways that you can get funds into the system. But ultimately, we are going to be paid in Flare. Now, what is Flare? It is a cryptocurrency asset. Right now, it's valued at less than 2 cents. Some pundits are saying it's going to get to $40,000. Now, I don't know if it'll ever get to 40,000. I won't even go there. What we want to do at Billion Dollar Church, Billion Dollar Mind, is we want those that participate in the donation platform to ultimately accrue no less than 5 to 10 million Flare. I want that to sink in for a moment. Okay. Now, obviously, you're going to convert some Flare into usable, spendable cash. But after you've done that, we want you to have banked up no less than 5 to 10 million Flare. Now, let's say Flare never gets to 40,000. It gets to $1. And you've got 5 to 10 million Flare. That's $5 to $10 million in value. It never gets to 40,000. It gets to 4. Now you're talking 5 to 10 million Flare. You're talking $20 to $40 million. So we're teaching spiritual laws. Tab and I went to the same church. All right. Every church service, there was a call for offerings and things of that nature. Tab. I've heard this taught so many times. A good man leaves an inheritance. I come from a charismatic background. Leaves an inheritance for his children's children. Sounds good, John. How? How? We just showed you how with Billion Dollar Church, Billion Dollar Mind. Now, I'm going to finish with this. We also have something that is free. All right. This is an extension. It is a separate portal, but it goes in conjunction with Billion Dollar Church, Billion Dollar Mind. We've got something called a portal. All right. That portal is going to already has quite a bit of content, but content that you can give away. The whole purpose of this is for you to be able to share the messaging of Billion Dollar Church, Billion Dollar Mind in a way that all you got to do is send content, whether it's by email, whether it's by text message, whether it's by posting it to social media. So here's a good example of the type of content. John did a wonderful piece where he talked about that we can create anything, everything that we experience, we create. And he shared in that post how to manifest the desires of your heart. So we've got this nice little piece here that you could email out, or you could text out, or you could put this on your social media. The reality is, if you invited a couple of folks And they got it and they invited a couple of folks. Remember with that 2x2, that 2x2, that 2x2? And if you invited even more, then that's going to help you with more fundraising. Okay. Here's another example. This is the type of content that you'll have. So this is an amazing young lady. Her name is Lisa Nichols. Now she's not part of Billion Dollar Church, Billion Dollar Mind, but a lot of what she shares, she's one of the top personal transformation trainers in the world. Well, her story is amazing. She was almost killed. She was in a relationship, domestic violence, almost died. Single mom. She was on government assistance. Now she's one of the top personal transformation trainers in the world. She runs a multi-million dollar business. And in this particular piece, she shares some of her secrets of success. Well, a lot of these personal transformation folks, they are sharing universal laws, spiritual laws. They may not necessarily be church folks, religious folks, or what have you. Okay. But a lot of their content is congruent with what we share here at Billion Dollar Church. So here's an example. Okay. And this is one of my favorite pieces. This just went up. All right. We haven't even crafted out the full email and the text. So what will happen in the portal is you'll have access to content like this, and we'll provide you a model email if you wanted to send that email out, if you have folks in your email list, or you wanted to text it out, if you wanted to post it to social media, what have you. This is one of my favorite pieces because this talks about inflation. Now, who doesn't want, if they saw exposed their lies about inflation, huh? Because we know inflation is impacting everybody. Discover how to win the war against inflation. Well, how do I win the war? And so we've got content there. And then the call to action is for them to grab the free portal. Once they come into the free portal, they can hear more about Billion Dollar Church, Billion Dollar Mind. So if I want to fundraise leveraging the Billion Dollar Church, Billion Dollar Mind system, all I really have to do is take this type of content for you is absolutely free and just give it away. Give away this type of content. There will be no shortage of content. We'll be adding content going forward that you'll be able to share and you'll be able to give away. And as you do that, people are going to start hearing about the spiritual laws. People are going to start hearing about the donation plan and how they can fundraise. And they may wind up then coming to you and saying, yes, I want to be a part, and start donating to your causes. So what are your next steps? You need to get back to the person that referred you to tonight's Zoom. Ask them for their Billion Dollar Church, Billion Dollar Mind link. Now, they may send you to Billion Dollar Church, that link. They may send you to Billion Dollar Mind. It actually takes you to the same place. Okay. Again, when we started off as Billion Dollar Mind. We're just starting to put it under the auspices of Billion Dollar Church. Okay. Also ask them if they have the free portal and for them to get you a link to the free portal. So you want to get started with them in Billion Dollar Church, Billion Dollar Mind, register with their link, then ask them if they have the portal so you can get the portal as well. And through the portal, we also help you post your whatever your fundraising projects may be. That way, if you happen to give away our portal also, others can see what your fundraising projects are. And if you happen to be in the home business arena, if you have some other income producing streams, you can even share that through our portal as well. So get back to the person, get their link, plan to be with us on this coming Sunday at 8 p.m. on the same link. We're going to talk about the law of unity. All right. We want to get billions of dollars in the hands of everyday people. And if we unite around that, we're going to see heaven move. With that being said, John, you want to share with the folks, feel free to go on and do so. If you have questions about any part of what we discussed tonight, put them into your Q&A. We're going to do an optional Q&A. John, you have something that you want to share?
Yeah. If you don't like being a recruiter, you no longer have to be one. Now that we have a church, you can be a missionary. Do you realize how big a church has to be to buy a pastor, a fleet of jets, and $1 billion lifestyle? Well, being a church, I believe we are going to be able to grow our numbers infinitely larger than we could as a money-making opportunity. Millions of people are open to our content. And when they begin to join us on our seminars, many of them will gladly donate because that's what they do already
Yeah.
to other organizations they're aligned with.
Yeah.
And then there are tens of thousands of people that are currently disenfranchised. They really don't have a place to go. They're kind of lost right now. And if we just start reaching out and letting people know what we have seminars that are transforming lives. They're totally free. You have no obligation to come here and donate, folks. Absolutely none. You can literally come here and just soak up the information, apply it to your lives, see it transform your relationships, your uh, getting rid of your money worries, giving you radiant health, whatever it is that you want in life. These principles will allow you to have them. Whatsoever you ask in faith, believing, you shall receive. And the more we come together, where does faith come from? It comes from hearing the word, right? The more times you hear this, your faith is going to grow stronger. And the Bible says that one day your faith can be so strong that you'll begin to receive the things you need before you even ask for them.
Mm-hmm.
And then there is seek the kingdom of God. First, seek the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things will be added unto you. What are all the things? All the things that you need, all the things you want, the good health, the relationships,
Right.
the money to take care of your bills.
Right.
All of those things will be added supernaturally.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'm kind of the guy that if there's a possibility, I'm going to figure out how to make it work. I'm going to hang around other people who are making it work. Maybe some of that's going to rub off on me.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, I think we have a lot of intelligent people out there. I think we're attracting some really quality folks. You guys are the salt of the earth. And we're just going to expand this. We're going to share this, and more people are going to come. I've watched ministries, Joyce Meyer, for example. I just happened to got served a video of hers yesterday, and I sat and watched it, and actually got sucked into it. And she had some really good content. But Joyce, for many years, she went and just giving, pouring out her heart, giving 100%. And she had little teeny congregations,
Right.
10,
Yeah.
20,
Yeah.
30, finally got up to about 80 people. Now she fills entire stadiums
Yeah.
all around the world. I mean, it's incredible.
I've been to
But
I've been to a couple of her conferences, and they're amazing. You're
yeah,
absolutely right. You would never know where she started from.
right. But what is she doing? She's giving good content. She's lifting people's lives. And so, yeah, somebody invites somebody. Yeah. And why do they do it? It's the missionary concept. Hey, I've got something you need to take a look at. It's going to make your life better in more ways than one. Come and take a seat. Back to you.
So with what John just shared, so go ahead and start putting your questions in the questions box with what John just shared. This is why we've got the portal that is really an extension of Billion Dollar Church, Billion Dollar Mind to give you content that you can share with other folks. You don't have to go out and say all the stuff yourself. You can just give them the content. Again, I've got a very dear friend on tonight. I sent her a text message. I sent her a text message this morning. She's on the Zoom on tonight. Okay. John, I've got some questions already in the Q&A. Gary is asking, with the donation amount, will it be an auto split of 50-50?
No. The way it'll work, let's say you only have $10. It has to go to the two up first.
Okay.
Because well, that's just the way it is. I could get into, a lot of explanation, but you need to donate to the two up at the same level that you want to donate to the 2x2. Okay. So no, it's not a split. In fact, you could donate straight to the 20,000 two up and not donate to the 2x2 at all. So you will have in your dashboard this similar looking thing that we have right here, where you can go in and donate to either plan, either to the two up or the 2x2. However, if you try to donate to a 2x2 and you're not at that level in the two up, it's going to tell you, whoops, you have to donate to the two up first.
And this is all optional. But I want you guys and guyettes to see something here. Okay. All right. I want you to see the importance of both. All right. The two up gives us the potential of all of this unlimited depth. Now I want us to see this. Before we showed that Frank, referred a few folks, but the reality is, again, this is all optional. This is Q&A, it's all optional. The reality is, if Frank only referred Sue, and Sue did the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and so we know that the second and fourth are going to go to Frank. The second and fourth people that donate, the people don't go, the donations go up to Frank. What I don't know that I covered is that this second person and this fourth person, their second and fourth are going to go to Frank. So what the two up allows us is we could have someone that, is not a big inviter, not a big missionary, whatever you want to call it, in terms of other folks at their referral coming aboard and being a part of $1 Billion Church, $1 Billion Mind. It could be one person, but that one person that you invite might invite a few others. And those few others could be a second and fourth on a $10 donation or a $50 donation or so on and so forth on a $20,000 donation. And whoever is, we call this being, let me not use that word. All right. Whoever's connected to Frank for that particular donation, their second and fourth for that same donation, if it's the 10, if it's the 50, it's the 100, that's going to go to Frank. But that could go to an unlimited depth. So the two up is major for what it can produce for folks. The one thing with the two up, or the one thing that the 2x2 gives us that we don't get in just a two up, which is why this is phenomenal synergy, the law of unity with 2 or 3, where we got two models agreeing. let's let heaven move on our behalf. What the 2x2 does, okay, is it gives us that potential, maybe perhaps residual element. When that second row is completed, it starts a new 2x2 matrix that can go on, and you do another one and another one at both the 10 and the 50 and the 1,000 and the 10,000 and the 20,000. So it gives us that potential residual element. We don't get that residual element in the in the two up. We get an unlimited depth element. In the 2x2, we get a residual element plus, mind you, you're getting paid or you're getting proceeds from more folks in the 2x2. You got 4 folks here. 2 of those go to your withdrawable wallet, and 2 of those are payouts. 1 goes for your holding, to ultimately donate more, and then the other one goes to start a new matrix. Okay, great question, Gary. All right. Someone is asking, when will we be able to donate to the 2x2?
We're actually, they thought it would take until December to do it, but they're putting a rush on it. We hope to have it done by sometime in November next month.
So thank you, Linda, for that question. By the way, I will say this. I know of a project that's in the business field that they had a structure and they introduced a 2x2 um, alongside their other structure. And it was about 2 months. They were talking about it for about 2 or 3 months. What happened is there just the amount of dollars that came through their system in like a 2 month period, of 2 to 3 month period, increased by over 60% because people got that 2x2 and they were, positioning themselves so that they could be in the 2x2. And again, the only qualifier in the 2x2 is you had first donated at that applicable level in the 2 up, whether it's the 10 or the 100 or the 20,000. Okay. All right.
Yeah, that's really a good point because if you go out and share this right now and you have a number of people lined up, and then as soon as the 2x2 launches, you could literally be cycling more than once a day.
Yeah.
And the advantage of having several people is that each person that you personally refer, when they cycle, they're going to follow you into your next matrix. So they're
Mm-hmm.
either going to land on your first or second level over and over again. So if you had, let's say you had 10 or 12 people that are following you, well, guess what? It's going to happen very, very quickly. It could happen multiple times a day. Uh, and so right now is a good time to get out there and share this, get your people started, get them, acclimated to the system, introduce them to the portal. Um, and another thing that, I'd like to comment on, um, and just, speaking of a typical business opportunity, whatever you do in life is going to treat you how you treat it. If you treat it like a hobby, it's going to be a hobby. It's just
Mm-hmm.
really, it's not going to pay you anything.
Mm-hmm.
If you just go out there, maybe once a week you talk to somebody, uh, but if you really focus on what you've got here, you spend some time every day in your portal.
Mm-hmm.
You
Mm-hmm.
first of all, you want to use that information for your own transformation, and then you'll see the email swipes and how you can share it through email. You can share it on social media, and then you're going to have people following you. You're going to have people coming in because yeah, you're basically getting a system that turns you into a professional marketer. Not many people out there, or if they have this kind of a system, they're paying
Mm-hmm.
two, $300 a month and sometimes more. And then they have to create the content. Here, everything is done for you.
Yeah.
No, number
Yeah.
one, you're not paying for it. Number two, you're not creating the content. All you have to do is get in this Maserati and put the keys in the ignition and
Mm-hmm.
turn it on.
Mm-hmm.
And that's
Mm-hmm.
literally what you have here. You have something that is just, it's way above and beyond anything that I've ever started with. Okay. I used to build systems very similar to this, and which, helped me to be successful, but it was a lot of work. I mean, I'm, putting in 16, 18, 20 hours a day. And I'm not saying you need to put in that kind of time, but you need to treat it how you want to be rewarded. Back to you.
Sorry about that. Okay, this is all optional. All right, so this is the portal that John is talking about. And so what we've shared, all right, now we tonight was the first time we did this specific presentation. So the presentations that are in here now are going to be getting updated over the next few days. This is enough, though. We still cover the two up here. What we've done about integrating the 2x2, that's going to be added here in just a few moments, in a few days. But if you come under transformational nuggets, for instance, this is what John is talking about. All right. And you can see here, I'm logged in as Sue Average. All right. Pay attention to that. So we've got this content back here. This is for our own edification. This is for our own transformation. So let's say you view this nugget, it talks about as we think, so are we. There's another principle. All right. As a man thinks in his heart, so is he. As a woman thinks in her heart, so is she. So it covers that. But it's not just that. You can give this content away. We give you the email, all right, and you'll feel free to use this same email if you want to change it up a little bit or what have you. The key is there's got a link here, and this is where your person, if they clicked on the link, would then go and they would have access to that same content. But then the call to action is for them to grab the free portal. When they get the free portal from you, and now they come inside, they can hear the rest of the information. And all you did all you did was get them the free portal. We walked them through everything from how to get started, how to make their donation, what amount to consider for their donation. And there's a lot more content that's coming. We're just getting started with this. All right. Just getting started with it. All right. John, someone was asking a question about will donations coming through Billion Dollar Church be tax deductible? A lot of times when you donate to a church or synagogue or what have you, those charitable contributions are tax deductible. Will these donations be tax deductible?
No. And the reason is because we are not taking out a contract with the state. We're not becoming a 501(c) corporation. Okay, this is huge, folks. If you really understood, um, when a church takes out a 501(c)(3), they're not married to God anymore. They're married to the state, and they have to obey the state. They can't get involved with certain things. They can't do certain things. They literally give up their rights in order to have that privilege of being a tax-free uh, entity. So no, uh, we're not doing that. But by the same token, you can receive an $18,000 gift every year, tax-free. Um, so I mean, you can talk to your accountant about all of this. There are certain things most of us really don't understand. If you don't understand your rights, you lose them. You don't have them. Okay. If you really want to understand the IRS code and what it really says and what it really means, there is a website out there. It's freedomlawschool.org, freedomlawschool.org, for anybody that really wants to understand how all of this stuff works. Um, and it's totally up to the individual how you want to handle it. But frankly, I've I did a deep dive into the IRS code clear back in the 1980s, and then again in the 90s. And I agree wholeheartedly with what this gentleman is teaching. So, um, again, I'll just leave it at that.
Okay. All right. And let's see. Now, those are all the questions I see that were posted. Some of you we were answering by text. So we're we're we have finished the content. Obviously, all the Q&A was all optional. If there are any other questions, go on and put those into the questions box. I'm going to give you just a few seconds and we're going to start our countdown. Again, for those of you who are visiting with us, you want to get back to the person who referred you, ask them for their billion dollar um, church or billion dollar mind link. They may send you one or the other. It's going to take you to the same place. Okay. You'll register with them. Your registration is free. You'll register with them. Then obviously you want to be thinking about what your donation budget is going to be. Also ask them for the BDM portal. And for those of you that maybe are already with us and you don't have a portal yet and you want to get it and you haven't been able to get it from the person that referred you, or they may not even know about it. Let me give you an email address where you can email portal support. Now, this is not regular support for Billion Dollar Church, Billion Dollar Mind. You find your regular support for that inside of the Billion Dollar Church, Billion Dollar Mind site. Okay. This is for the portal only. If you need to get the portal, you can send an email to admin at bdmportal.info. Notice the .info versus the .com. Admin at bdmportal.info. Tell us your name and then the person that referred you to um, Billion Dollar Church, Billion Dollar Mind. Okay, your name and your referrer's name.